I first uncovered Stay Still, Stay Silent via a random link in an unrelated group chat. It was a lucky surprise, considering I had just begun thinking about my project. Stay Still, Stay Silent is a comic by Finnish cartoonist Minna Sundberg. It started in 2013 and gained notoriety for its heavy use of Scandinavian and Nordic folklore, and eventually was the winner of a Reuben Award for Outstanding Cartoonist of the Year. Stand Still, Stay Silent takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, in which an unprecedented illness known as the Rash has ravaged civilization in a matter of months. The story itself is set 90 years in the future, on the eve of an Icelandic government expedition into the Silent World. The comic begins pretty eerily. The first thing you might notice are, of course, the references to social distancing, certain demographics being more easily compromised by the virus, flights being cancelled, and N95 masks. I have to admit, reading that was a bit timely at first. We're introduced to a variety of characters, each with their own little introduction card. The story seems to be pretty self-aware about each character's trope, and so it comes off pretty endearing. We see all of them preparing for their day, musing about closed roads, and discussing the news. This goes on for a bit, allowing the reader to become attached to these characters. There's a specifically enjoyable scene with a car ride and some annoying family members. The story uses this cute atmosphere to juxtapose the increasing sense of dread, and finally, on page 48, a whiplash-inducing event occurs. Following a montage of our characters so far getting more and more desperate, we get a disturbing scene in which the Icelandic Navy fires upon refugee ships. Clearly, the situation has escalated. This is compounded by an astonishing time jump, 90 years. It turns out the early sections of the story were simply a chronicle of the ancestors of our main characters. It takes a drastic turn into a post-apocalyptic society. The new rules are quickly established. The primary rule of survival is self-evident. Stay still, stay silent. This is the character's last line of defense against the horrors that seek to destroy them. By remaining in this position, they just might not die or be infected, which happens a lot in this story. The known world consists of a union of Nordic nations, led by a surprising superpower, Iceland, who has remained free of infection. These nations survive in offshore settlements or limited, cleansed areas due to a plague of bio-horrors that roam the wilderness. Society has regressed in some ways and advanced in others. Pagan religion has returned, alongside modern technology, and society is structured on a loose hierarchy of roles. Notable among these roles are mages, which are a component of the revived pagan religion. They receive visions, channel spirits, and provide moral support for the rest of the characters. Like many things in the novel, they differ by region. The Finns, unlike their other surviving neighbors, speak a non-Germanic language, as they do in real life. As a result, the source of their magic is quite different. Then there are cleansers. Cleansers have the arduous job of reclaiming land for settlement. They scorch infected lands, slowly returning human control to the Nordic nations. They are also responsible for handling nearby creatures, being soldiers, and demolishing ruins. Another important point of the story are cats. These are the only mammal immune to the infection, besides some scattered humans. They have been trained as guards, and alert the heroes when danger approaches. Through these roles, society is slowly adapting. After 90 years, it's climbing its way back from the brink. Lolly is a 19-year-old Finnish mage. He is new to his role, despite it being assigned to him based on religious principles. Through him, the audience discovers more about his profession. Lolly provides an important role for the group and is also a scout. Then there's Turi, who's Lolly's cousin. She's an outgoing translator, and she serves the role Lolly perhaps should be serving better, as a morale raiser. She is adventurous, yet also not immune. This is a potentially deadly combination. Translation between the three Nordic languages is also a key role, ensuring her place in the group. Emil is a Swedish cleanser. He is more entitled and arrogant than the other characters, and unaccustomed to the dark world. He is the group's muscle, who's slowly coming to terms with reality as it is. Finally, there's the expedition leaders. Sigrun is the strong-willed leader and soldier, who's prepared and collected. She is, however, aging compared to the other characters, reaching about 30, which is pretty high life expectancy in this story. They might look to her for purpose and guidance. She can possibly be compared to Randy from Alas Babylon in a few respects. Mikkel is her Danish companion, and in addition to being older, is a gruff Renaissance man and healer. He helped organize the expedition, and is attempting to escape a mundane farm life at home. One concept from psychology that we see covered in Stand Still, Stay Silent is that of lifespan development. More specifically, Piaget's idea of schemata. The young character Lolly is a great example of this. Due to his relative inexperience from a sheltered life, he has never experienced certain things, specifically horses. When he encounters them, there's a moment of confusion in which he refers to them as weird ugly moose, on page 126. After being informed of their actual name, he assimilates the information, and slowly begins using it correctly in later conversation. We see this again and again, in which many of our characters are unfamiliar with certain things. Another example is trains, which on page 150, the characters are also forced to assimilate, and they almost discover too late that they must catch it before it departs. In conclusion, Stand Still, Stay Silent is an incredibly detailed world, in which the characters have to band together to survive, as well as overcome each other's prickly personalities. Its use of Nordic legend, alongside horror and good art, make it very entertaining. In addition, it has become eerily relevant with the current epidemic plaguing the world.